Fish are grown on fish farms. Right? How many people also understand that the level of mercury that is in the fish is so toxic that by the time that you get 50, you can almost be guaranteed to get dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. if you're in generations from 30 to about 45 now. All right? People who are 60 and above, they grew up in a different environment where it's a little bit cleaner and it's gotten worse since that time. All right, so there's a lot of things that cause dysfunction from the things that these people are doing to food. And that leads to other problems. If you are always angry, over-emotional, lack self-control, those are biological functions in the brain and the body. Do you understand that, right? Emotions are chemicals. You do understand that? So if you find yourself emotionally or mentally unstable, it's because you're nutritionally toxic and biologically unstable. And there's something that you can do about it. But if you eat trash all day, it's more than likely you're going to be doing trashy things. More than likely. All right? Or divesting your mind into something dysfunctional. Believing in things that take away energy from your community and yourself that have no basis in real existence. So since we've been colonized, we've been taught a lot of things that are against self, family, community, etc. And these belief systems, whether they be political, religious, scientific, whatever they may be, all are part of human problems. You cannot solve human problems by adding more problems and never addressing the original problem. A bunch of politicians that drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes, how are they going to make good decisions for people? When they're toxic. They're going to make toxic decisions. All right, so to start this off on wealth and health. How many people know that this was the wealthiest man in world history? Great. All right, so the richest man on the planet right now allegedly has about $69–70 billion. This king from Africa, according to the cross references of what would be equated as far as how much money he had, his kingdom, would have had about $400 billion. And at this time, this kingdom was the center of education on the planet. Not just in Africa, on the planet. If you went into Mali and you went to Timbuktu and you wanted to do anything, you can get any level of knowledge from it. Health, history, astronomy, mathematics, engineering, building, whatever you can think of. They even had air conditioners. We think that all this stuff is new. It's not new. Sewer systems, apartments. Okay? Just built a little bit structurally different. But Mansa Musa is the richest person of all time. Now, to say that a black man on the planet pre-colonization was the richest person on the planet is important. It's very important. One of the reasons why it's important is you can go back to his empire and show that he did not, except for strategic purposes for defense of his kingdom from foreigners, have to invade anybody to become that wealthy. You heard me? He had to go invade Arabia to get rich. Or Europe, or China, or South America. Which means that the people of the kingdom had a sustainable system of empire that produced wealth for them internally. As opposed to NATO and the United States, who depend on having military bases in foreign countries to control the commerce of those countries to bring wealth back to this country, without which America will be in the Stone Age. One is a natural law paradigm, one is a parasitic paradigm. We live in the parasitic paradigm. And we live beliefs, which are inherently dysfunctional to our brain and our cells. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Since colonization, the law and the order of our lives has been set by white males. Fact. And you can go to countries that are predominantly black in Africa and see the systems of white people, democracy in their way, being imposed upon the people. True. So, in this universe, whatever, this was my quote of the day to start my day actually, whatever or whoever sets the law and order of your life is your God. I'll say that again so you can get it. Whatever or whoever sets the law and order of your lifestyle is your God. So the reason why we come here to talk about government is because everybody participates in the government, whether it be local, national, or even larger. And what a government is supposed to do is secure, protect, and guarantee your natural rights so that you can have an existence. Whenever you have a system that becomes parasitic and imposes upon you things that cause strain to take energy away from you, that entity still becomes your God, but it becomes a dysfunctional God to you, because in order to survive, you have to comply with regulations, ordinances, and means that compromise your ability to maintain yourself, sometimes, your family, your community. So since our people have been here, that's what we have been under. In religion, they call it, you sold your soul to the devil. I'm not going to say any of us sold our soul to the devil. I'm just saying that's the reality of the circumstance and the situation that we live under. And we can see it. Because any one of us can walk outside, no matter whether you dress like this, or you got a hat to the back or whatever, and an incident can go on where for some reason we are categorized as a threat just based on the fact that we look like we look. And it has no origin in history other than the interaction of Europeans with our people. And them setting a coda that they must rule and we must not. So, I'm saying that to say, if Forbes magazine can tell you the richest person in the world was this man, how come in history class you don't learn about it? How many of your children can go to public school and do a dissertation on Mansa Musa? I guarantee you that by the time Europeans leave high school, they know who Bill Gates is. They do. Because it's real time, right? Bill Gates is now. That makes sense. All right? So we don't have a lot of Mansa Musas. Jay-Z mentioned them in his rhymes. But Jay-Z way far from Mansa Musa as far as wealth is considered. All right? And as far as the paradigm. So, what paradigm do these Africans or these indigenous people live by that allow for them to be so wealthy? And how can we do it right here where we are? Well, one of the things that we have to understand is they weren't eating cheeseburgers. There was no Popeyes, White Castle, in the middle of the mountain. None of that was there. So the average person in these times, we don't even have a real calculation on how old they can get. Some of my brothers who have family in other countries have told me they have relatives that's been in the newspaper, 138, just living out in the hills somewhere in Haiti. Chilling, living a good life, all right? So the richest man in the world, history, is a black man who lived in Africa. That's important for you. Now, what I'm here to talk about, as far as the health paradigm and the structure is, how can we become this wealthy? Because we can. As a group, we can become this wealthy. We have the potential to do so. And the potential is being distributed to other people. Imagine all of the people in hip-hop, all of the people in sports, all the people in entertainment, all the people in socio-political operations, all those people under one government for us as a people. It stands, we would be the most powerful government on the earth. as far as talents, gifts, and potential. Even if immediately we're not the wealthiest, we would be the most powerful entity on the planet. And those of the groups of people who are the descendants of the people who put us in the condition understand that dynamic clearly. So they do things to make sure that we never get to that point. And we contribute to it in our ignorance. All right? We contribute to it in our ignorance in a major way through what we invest our mind in. So we invest in our mind in a lot of things that deal with beliefs. I'm pretty sure they weren't dealing with a bunch of foolish beliefs in order to build such an empire. All right? Mansa Musa. All right. So you probably never heard of him, but Mansa Musa is the richest person ever. The 14th century emperor from West Africa was worth a staggering $400 billion after adjusting for inflation as calculated by celebrity net worth. To put that number into perspective, if that's impossible, net worth calculation means Musa's fortune far outstripped that of the current world's richest man, Carlos Slim Helu, and family. According to Forbes, the Mexican telecom giant's net worth is $69 billion. Slim edges out the world's second wealthiest man, Bill Gates, who is worth $61 billion according to Forbes. Some of the oldest fortunes in question date back 1,000 years. Number 7 on the list, for example, is William the Conqueror, the illegitimate son of Duke of Normandy. William lived between 1028 and 1087 and gained history for invading and seizing England in 1066. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, when Musa died sometime in the 1330s, he left behind an empire filled with palaces, mosques, some of which still stand today. But the emperor really turned the story head. Mansa Musa's brother ocean into the Americas and never came back. Abu Bakr. So they brought some of that wealth here. Save your questions. We're going to come to a Q&A. We'll make sure you have your Q&A. So please write the questions down and save because I don't want you to forget them. But I want to stay on top. So, point being, our people were world travelers, commercial, whatever you want to think of. All right? That's always been our nature. All right. So jump to this health. Now, how is this connected to Mansa Musa as far as health? I'm going to try to make that as clear as possible with some of the concepts that come up out of Africa as far as health, or indigenous America. But this is what you need to know. How many people went to the hospital before? How many people had a relative die in the hospital? Anybody? Oh, got some hands here. All right. How many people want to die in the hospital? Nobody. Out of 783,936 annual deaths from conventional medicine mistakes, approximately 106,000 of those are the result of prescription drug use. Taking a pill? Out. So what's in the pill that's able to kill you? I mean, y'all see the Viagra commercials? You can go for 10 hours. And then they put that little clause in there. And they say it real fast. Your body is subject to heart attack, brain, aneurysm, and everything else. Buy your local Viagra for $100. Yeah. So, this is happening every day. So much so that our people are popping pills now. Because we stress the hell out. According to the Journal of American Medical Association, 290 people in the United States are killed by prescription drugs every day. So, if you were in our class the last time, we told you that everyone who takes prescription drugs, whether it be aspirin or whatever it may be, is a cannibal. You are a cannibal. Because you are eating human flesh. And we broke it down how the blood is put in centrifuges, micromonally separated and sold to pharmaceutical companies so that the drugs can upload into your body. Without a human or animal microsomal blood tissue sample or something, it can't interact with human tissues and do anything. That's changing the way that your cells operate. That's changing your behavior. That's making you more parasitic inclined. parasitically inclined as far as human behavior. And there's association with biological structure in human behavior. They mirror each other, which we should be able to show you clearly. So look at what the ancient people said, even the ancient white people. Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine. Food be thy medicine. Meaning, you don't need to take medicine to get cured, because there's no medicine that can cure you. There may be some herbs that can help you out, bring you back to stability. But if your food is nutritious, you'll never get sick. You never get sick. Imagine a life where you never get a cold. You don't even know what that is. Imagine people who can live 200, 300, 400 years old, which we've shown you has happened. So we live in a world where people die very quickly and painfully. All right? So one of the founders of Johns Hopkins Hospital stated this: the first duties of the physician is to educate the masses not to take medicine. That's a doctor talking. How many people in here are on medication? It's all right, raise your hand. How many people have somebody who's related to their own medication? Now, I'm going to jump here. This is kind of a far jump, but I'm going to jump here to explain what it means to be healthy and what it doesn't mean to be sick, to give you an idea of where we want to go with this thing. I wake up in the morning, right? Not me, but hypothetically someone. And I'm hungry, right? It's 8 o'clock, so I want to eat something. What do I eat? I eat some oatmeal, or some eggs, or some grits, or some cereal, right? Start my day off, go to work. I go to lunch, have some chicken, baked chicken, some greens or something. Cool. Come home, I have some red meat, some broccoli, some brown rice, watch some TV, and I go to bed. And I do that every day. And I'm pretty smart, so I study the food pyramid, and I make sure I cover the whole food pyramid. Because I need my proteins, my grains, my dairy, my fruits and vegetables, all of it. I live my life like that. That is the diet that is guaranteed to give you a problem. Period. You live that way for 50 years, you will have a problem. Where it manifests is based on your anatomy and physiology. But you will get prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, some type of cancer, atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, hypothyroidism, lifestyle. If you're getting up before 12 o'clock and eating anything other than fruits and water, you're also going to have problems. Because your body is going to build up so much waste by the time it's 40, 45, and 50 that you have not excreted out of the body regularly that is going to damage some parts of your body. And there's some things that are more dangerous than others, as we're going to get into. Now, that's not the only problem. We live in a society that's constructed around, what's the concept that I can use? Just parasiting. All right? How many people use computers pretty much throughout the day? How many people have wireless internet in their house? How many people use a cell phone? All right, so your body is constantly exposed to various levels of ELF waves. Radiation. And radiation is not bad. The sun radiates. That light is radiating. Your body even radiates. But the problem that ensues is when you're constantly bombarded by these frequencies and what types of things it does to the body and how it generates feelings and emotions in you, which I want to get into. It is important for us to understand that the tissues in the body, from the cells to the nucleotides to the genes, are all organized by magnetic fields, energy field. That's important. Your energy field as a human being commences when the sperm and the egg connect, and an entire energy field is born, and from that point on, the body knows how to grow out into arms, legs, etc. Anything that depreciates that energy field is what causes aging. You keep that energy field intact, you can live perpetually. But anything that you do that depreciates the energy field causes a problem. Now this is a scientist. His name is Dr. Harold Saxton Burr. He wrote a book called The Blueprint for Immortality. I want to read something from him. All right? This is from his book. And he did a 40-year study on the electromagnetic fields of plants, animals, and humans. Because the biggest concept in science and medicine and biology and other things they're trying to figure out is, how does the body know how to grow into 5 fingers instead of 4? How does it know to put arms up on top instead of down here and legs here? And how is it all held together knowing that the body is constantly replacing its tissues? Why doesn't it just all fall apart? And what he discovered is that it's the magnetic fields of the body. The new words are for auras and chakras and whatever you want to call it. It's a magnetic field, electrical field, is what holds the body together. And aging in itself is a depreciation of that field. So anything that destroys the nervous system, the electrical system, the brain and the tissues, all right, is affecting that field. Anything that affects the Earth's magnetic field affects your field. Any types of pollution, etc., environments that we live in do those particular things. Now, why is this important? It's important because we as a people, when we start looking at what we put into our mind, which is concepts, they're either proficient to give us energy or not. Well, look at what he said. The universe in which we find ourselves and from which we cannot be separated is a place of law and order. It is not an accident nor chaos. It is organized and maintained by an electrodynamic field capable of determining the position and movement of all charged particles. That's deep. If you think about how many atoms are in the universe, that means there are no accidents. Ouch. There's only law and order prescribed by man and woman and output from that decision to create that law and order. So if we live in a society where we see strange things happening, why did that child get raped by that man? It's because that man ate bologna sandwiches for his whole life, and he was in a school that taught him how to behave other than what nature would give a man or a woman. And then those behaviors crept over to allow for him to either be abused or to abuse someone else. All of these behaviors are part of how society is being constructed by. For nearly half a century, the logical consequence of this theory has been subjected to rigorous control conditions and met with no conditions. Dr. Berg discovered that all living things, I'm only reading this to give you an idea of the concept, because the concept is actually old. And I know y'all need white people to verify information.
No, we don't.
If I use all black people, would y'all still listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Maybe y'all in here. There's some people on live stream, Mike. Press the off button. Dr. Berg discovered that all living things, from men to mice, from trees to seeds, are molded and controlled by electrodynamic fields, which could be measured and mapped with standard voltmeters. These fields of life, or L fields, are the basic blueprints of all life on this planet. Their discovery is of immense significance to all of us. Dr. Berg believed that since measurements of the L field voltages can reveal physical and mental conditions, doctors should be able to use them to diagnose illness before symptoms develop. And so we'll have a better chance of successful treatment. Now let me break this down to you so I can bring it home, because I don't want to lose you in talking about L fields and a whole bunch of stuff. Imagine I'm Reverend Chickenfoot for a minute, right? I'm Reverend Chickenfoot. And I brought you into the congregation. because I want you to donate to my church. But I am going to teach you about God and what God's purpose and intent is based on my interpretation of a book. In this sense, it would be a Bible. We could switch it and make it an email. Priest, Babylao, it doesn't matter. It's somebody being an intercessor between you and what you think is the most powerful energy in the universe, God. So I'm going to start diverting you and telling you what God's purpose is. Long ago in ancient Egypt, there was a pharaoh that said, these priests, they're separating you from your direct connection with yourself and your creator. I'm wiping that out. And now they call him the heretic pharaoh. Anybody ever heard of Akhenaten? Akhenaten?
They say I look like him.
Alright, so Akhenaten was considered by the Theban priests a rebel. Because he said these priesthoods are corrupt. And they're becoming intercessors between the people and their own divinity. So I'm going to wipe that out. And if you ever seen the symbol, which I'm going to show, they always show his family with hands reaching out from the sun. To show that direct connection with Ra. Not that they were venerating the sun, but the sun is important. As we'll get to it. When we come to, you say you believe in God. And you'll say, well, they pagans, they worship the sun. But you're wearing sunscreen, but you believe in Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus Christ wore sunscreen. There was none in Palestine. Nor did he eat swine. I don't know. So what I'm saying is, when you create an entity that is going to teach you more about yourself than you are to develop from yourself, that becomes a problem. The only time you need that is when you lose the knowledge of self. And the purpose of teaching is to get you to look inwardly at the principles so you can activate something inside of yourself. Not for you to be reaching out 10,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. So my point with this energetic field is that our energy is being stolen. It's being taken away from you. You're being robbed of it. Brothers, some of y'all gonna go home today and have a conversation with your wife, and you might even have an argument about how much money she spent. But she watched that commercial, and it looked so good that she just had to have that bag, those shoes, that weed, whatever she got. She had to have it. Because her concept is she wants to look like Kim Kardashian or somebody else. Because she's beautiful. That's not everybody's made in here, but somebody might have that problem. And when you go home and you see, some of the digits missing out of the account, or the shoebox a little bit lower, or whatever you have, what are you going to say? Either you're going to address it and stop it, or communicate about it, or you're going to say, man, I'm about to get this 40 ounce, get this bottle of brandy, roll this L, and call it a night, because I ain't trying to argue with nobody. Lose, 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 lose. All from projection of a thought, belief, energy, behavior, in this sense, counterculture. Stress, kidneys firing off, hypothalamus out, or moments of emotion. And this is what leads to you having hypertension. Not having a dynamic, having a set of beliefs that come from other people that create dysfunction. So my point to you, if there's any point that you can get tonight, is that no one is in control of your divinity. Nobody. To give someone control of your divinity is to become a slave of the highest order. And you might be a functional slave. You go to work every day, you get up, you go to bed, you believe in your prophet, your God. Cool! I got no problem with that, and it's actually none of my business. But I will impart to you that no other human being can take control of your divinity unless you give it to them, and as soon as you give it to them, you become a slave. No prophet, no messenger, nobody. They can only help you study and learn something that you didn't know so you can look deeper into it. So that's the first concept of a healthy society. Do not rob other people of their divinity. That's the first healthy concept. Now, that concept has no place in the United States of America. Because niggas get robbed left and right. Alright? Sisters, you might have a nigga that's at home, just laying on the couch, not doing nothing. And you pay all the damn bills. And all the nigga want to do is smoke weed. But you keep him there because he's strapped. Or something. I don't know. You got a reason. We make up a reason. These are all dysfunctions in society that create stress, that depreciate these fields of energy that's supposed to stay healthy. So when you do die, you just go to sleep, and that's it. Hell, and if you energy, there might not be it. We don't know. All right? Let's see. Do I need to read this? No. I'm not going to keep going over this one. So, let's get to something. I always use this because this is our Constitution in the truest sense. All right? I got this from a book called Colonization. It's called the Laws of Medicine, sometimes called a Canon of Medicine. It was written by an African, where he compiled a lot of ancient literature into a book, herbology, astromedicine, a whole bunch of things. And this Moorish astronomer, doctor, or whatever you want to call him, became the man that led Europe into translating his works into Latin and learning about medicine and all this stuff for the first time. Prior to that time, the Europeans couldn't even count. And we have the books to prove it. So you talk about Fibonacci sequences. Fibonacci's father was a merchant that went into Algiers and got the first book of mathematics that they took back to Europe. They couldn't even count in the truest sense of counting, accounting, and commercial counting. So we know where they got all the information from, and we know how they downgraded. They didn't take the canon of medicine and bring it into Europe and then bring it into the Western medical model. If they did, the hospitals would be empty. So once again, they must steal from you in order to exist. Now, it's important for you to understand that any entity that requires themselves to steal energy from another entity in order to exist has no real basis in existence themselves. Catch what I'm saying? Let me slow that down a little bit and type a little bit slower. Any entity that requires of itself to feed off of someone else's energy that cannot sustain themselves without doing so is a parasite and has no basis to exist in this universe independently. Meaning they didn't come with creation. They came after, and they're made instead of being created. That's a difference there. And you can measure it. You can measure it. Because when I talk about health, by the time we get to diabetes and all those things, those should be small issues you can solve like that. If you are flustered over diabetes, that means you haven't had a real health conversation yet. Because you're still in manipulation mode where you think, I can give you some herbs to cure diabetes. That's what the herbalist is telling you, right? Here, take these herbs, $25, $100, $150, and this cures diabetes or heals diabetes. That's not what's happening. By default, even if he is just following those who came before him, that's also parasitic and it's pimp game. By default. Because we have to find out what are the things that led to this particular point of causation so you can stop it forever. That's what you call real healing. So, what do we have here? Our ancestors called this the Hamayat Anan. Thamaniya. the 8 power. All right? And essentially, you have at the center various epics of time, whatever you want to call it. You have the creative power of the universe. If we went to chemistry, we would call it the waters of blue. Right? We went to the Moorish system, we call it Allah. Amun-Re, whatever, the hidden one. All right? Various names for it. The creative force and power in the universe. All right? From that creative force and power came everything in the universe, and the first thing that is usually born in a system is a star. From that star, you have a chronology of events that will occur. You'll get planets that are born from that star, and on those orbs you'll get life forms. Plant, animal, and what we're calling human. That's the order of operation in this universe. That's how you know that we're stardust. We're solar beings. That's why we need the sun. Anything that is anti-solar or lifestyles that are anti-solar automatically create disease. Anything. So when you see that vitamin D3 deficiency, that is coming because you're not getting enough sunlight. Which means you need to be sitting out in the sunlight, exercising, walking in the sunlight in order for those photons to charge particles in your body in order to produce chemistry that maintains your electrodynamic field. Because that electrodynamic field is born from your mother and your father, is born from the Earth's magnetic field, the Earth's magnetic field is born from the sun's magnetic field is born from the center core of the Sagittarius A galaxy center core. So those are the magnetic fields that you are tied to electrically. You have a direct connection to the God force. And if you're not getting enough sunlight, it's because this is a culture that is anti-sunlight. Put on the sunscreen. Who is the sunscreen for? It's for protection against the sun's rays. Because the UVB light will cause sunburn cells in certain people. And those certain people are not you. But you follow them. So therefore, you go to the beach, it's hot out here. I can't stand this hot sun. Anybody talk like that? All right, not no more. Great. Because anybody that's anti-solar did not come from a lineage that came naturally with creation. So your belief that we are all the same is just a belief. It doesn't mean that you have to say you're better than someone. It just means that you deal with belief. You believe that the Creator created all human beings of different shades and all different colors. And you're confused. It doesn't mean you should hate anybody. It just means that that's what happened and we can prove it. Because if the earth, which we know, was born from the sun, and the core of it is fire, the fire that it borrowed from the sun, and it is rotating and revolving on its own axis around the sun in the sun's gravitational field, and every plant, animal, and species on it needs it to survive, but certain people get in it and it causes sunburn cells, cancer, melanoma, destabilization. Something is wrong with those people. That's all it means. It just means that. Atmosphere. We breathe oxygen. Oxygen is vital for every cell to operate. It attaches itself, bing, to your red blood cell to be carried into cells. It causes combustion in the body of carbon. It's carrying out all types of metabolic processes. But there are some organisms that are aerobic and there are some organisms that are anaerobic. Now you need to know this as a basis of health before I get to vitamins and all of that. Water is essential for the body. All right? There are some people, you can do this to yourself now. Anybody want to do a test to see whether they're dehydrated? Hold your arm out like this and scratch it. And see if you get white ash. None? Okay, that means you're hydrated. If you start getting white ash, that means your body is dehydrated. And if your body is dehydrated, then you're having severe issues. Because no biological function can take place without water being in the tissues. And there are certain anatomies and physiologies that prefer other liquids in their body as opposed to water. And those other liquids are ammonia. So you can look at some people's red blood cell, and they have something called an ammonia transport system, where they transport ammonia into the mitochondria and the interstitial fluids of the cell in order for it to function. All right? Ammonia is NH4, it's high in nitrogen. Nitrogen is what spores and funguses and viruses use to maintain their existence. It's their fuel, as opposed to oxygen. All right? We'll come to make sense of that. And then the last thing is fruits, which are the only natural food on the planet. I know that's like crazy. What are you talking about? The only natural foods on the planet are fruits and vegetables. Anything else that you eat is just because you chose to eat that. That's cool. I got no problem with it. Because I eat that sometimes too. We live in the real world. I don't eat flesh, anything of that nature, but it's something. But it's fruit and vegetable based, but it's taken out of its nature. All right? So I'm saying that to say, if you want to get back to health, you cannot have flesh, over-starchy diet as the basis for you to do it. And some people who become vegetarians actually become starch-atarians. And I was a vegetarian for 15 years and I still got cancer. No, you weren't. To be a vegetarian means you eat vegetables. You eat rice and beans and potatoes, macaroni and cheese. It was vegan. Vegan pizza, vegan nuggets. It was vegan, brother. But it made you sick because you were supposed to be eating fruits and vegetables. Now going beyond that, if you want the optimal diet, which we put in the book, How to Eat to Live, you're not supposed to be eating the DNA of any organism. And the only way you can avoid eating the DNA of any organism is by eating fruits. Specifically the pulp of the fruit, which has no DNA in it. It's pure fuel for the cell, and it's the only thing that the cell wants to burn. If you want to deal with a detox, eat only the pulp of fruits, and if you could do that for 60 days, you will look physically different. Meaning, no skins and no seeds, because they hold DNA. Only the pulp of fruits. You do that for 60 days, that's a real detox. Any other thing that you're doing is not a real detox. Sunlight, water, and the pulp of fruits. If you want to prescribe a healing for any disease, that's the disease. So you can just shut down GNC and all your little fake herbalists who give you all these herbs. The purpose of herbs is supposed to be to kill parasites. Did you know that? That's what it's for. Or, as we call it, spirits. Because these things have intellect and energy. So when someone is possessed, they actually have an excessive amount of spores in their body. Same thing. You can't have one without the other. So the witch doctor will put something together that would, what? Remove the spirits, which are the funguses. And once the funguses are killed, then now the brain and the body. All right. So that's voodoo. All right. Oh, brother, we don't. My Lord and Savior, Jesus was the voodoo king. Was he not? Did he deal with exorcising spirits out of people? Yeah. So those are techniques, whether you're using plants or energy work or whatever you're doing. You got to know what you're doing with them. All right, so this is your tree. And then you have hot, cold, wet, and dry. So an example of the transformation table is you can take water, which is cold and wet, and you can transform it into air by doing what? Going from cold to hot. Now, when we start dealing with energy fields and health, this takes us into a whole nother level of study. Because each person born is born with a birth date. The Greeks gave you astrology to co-opt your energetic field sciences. But prior to that, we had it intact where a child could be born on a certain day, and we could say, oh, he's born to be an engineer. Oh, she's born to be a midwife. Oh, he's born to do this. We could pinpoint it based on astronomical position of energetic influences, where the Creator has moved the celestial orbs to determine what level of energy is present at the time that the child is conceived. So if you are living a lifestyle to go against that energetic imprint, and you're supposed to be over here dealing with being an engineer, and you're over here working for Bank of America, you're depreciating your energy field. Life is a struggle for you because you have allowed someone else to set the law and order of your purpose instead of having your purpose from your Creator. So how are you going to say you love God and you don't even know God? Because you don't know yourself, because you don't know what your purpose is. Matter of fact, you're not studying nothing to find out what it is. You're just dealing with other people believe. That means you're possessed. So we got to do an exorcism. It's true. Human beings are designed to live out their purpose, and when they don't, they're stressed. All right? And that goes for the group residents as well. We need sunlight, we need air, we need atmosphere, we need fruit. White folks don't like sunlight. They're anaerobic, they're hydrophobic, and they definitely are not trying to kill out the parasites in their body because they would die themselves. And that's not racism. Now, if you're on live streaming in the room and you think I'm racist, God is racist. Because God made the sun. I didn't do it. You can't charge me with that. I'm only 39 years old. The sun's been here a long time. And no matter how much you love white people, you can't save them. You can't. There's nothing in this universe that you can do to save them. The only thing your silly self can do is give over some of your genes to them to make them half black. Which is even more confusing. Because then you get an Obama. And niggas' signals is messed up. They don't know what he is. Is he for us or is he against us? No, he's both for us and against us. He sounds like he's for us, then he does something against us. So, law, we should not be marrying outside of our race. To marry outside of your race is to compromise your genetics. It's true. And we need standards to be able to teach that without being called racist. That's why I always use this as a pretext. So if anybody says something to me, I go straight back to science. Is it not a fact that if I put white people between the 23-degree belt on this planet in UVB radiation, that they will get melanoma if they don't do something? It's a fact. It's not an opinion. So I didn't make the earth, I didn't make the sun, and I didn't make the pole. You have to blame that on God. God is the number one racist on the planet. Because God did not make white people, and He has no plan for them to exist perpetually. The only ones who have a plan for white people to exist perpetually is niggas. Because white folks already know they're going to. And they're having a big ass party about it. And they don't care. Killing up people and doing all the crazy stuff on the planet. You remove white people from the planet, you've solved 99% of the problem. The other 1% is organized in indigenous societies. And you don't have to be apologetic about saying that. You don't have to say it. I'll say it for you because you might get fired. That's cool. We gotta have a strategy, right? One person has to be the person that doesn't have, I don't have to answer to nobody. I can say anything I want about white folks and they can never do nothing to me. All right? But I'm not saying it to make fun of them. I'm saying this to you so you could pay attention to what's going on the planet to see where the problems are coming from. Because if you're not going to deal with cause and effect, you're going to be stuck in effects. Right? And you don't have to say nothing about it. Just be aware of it in your life as you're moving through. Wherever they are, a problem is waiting to start. This just kind of ease and just keep your eye on it. Ease through the situation. All right. So we got all kinds of communications, right? See, our ancestors wrote these ancient script books and stuff. We read the Bible and we actually believe that there was a flood that covered the whole earth and that only 8 people survived. Not understanding that our people, whether they stole it from us or we wrote it direct, always put things in kind of, a mythological concept. So you can get the principle. We know Osiris wasn't actually chopped up into 14 pieces and then had a son. You ever seen a man chopped up into 14 pieces and had a son? Anybody want to volunteer to get chopped up into 14 pieces to see if a woman can copulate? It's mythos. Right? So when you see the stuff about the rainbow being the sign of Noah, all right, and Noah's family surviving the flood, try for a fact that the story was written down thousands of years ago and still is archived into walls and stuff before there was a Bible. It's symbolism. So what does it symbolize? The water represents chaos. If you have a flood, what happens? Symbolism is chaotic, unstable. So those 8 and Nu's art, a boat is a place of safety, away from the chaos, where you have order. The number 8 in numerology represents the planet Saturn, or the number of order, keeping things in order. And what type of order are we talking about? We just will. These are your 8 laws of nature. Fire, air, water, earth, the elements of nature, which everything in the universe is made of. And then your conditions, hot, cold, wet, and dry, which give you the conditions of everything on the planet. We can even put your psychological profile on this chart based on when you were born. You a fire sign, air sign, water sign, or earth sign. We can type you based on your mentality and tell exactly what you would do, how you would do it, how you like it to be done, what you don't like, what causes stress, what doesn't cause stress. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud can't do this. So if your birthday is at a certain point around the sun, in a circle, in astrology they use terms like Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So you will be a fire sign, which means you're really energetic, but you also like seclusion sometimes, or you're in your own world. All right? Or you could be an air sign, so-called Gemini, so-called Libra, and so-called Aquarius. I'm saying so-called because those points don't actually align to those constellations. The Greeks messed it up. But anyway, we'll use it. So-called Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, you're air. You're energetic. You like being around people. You might have a wife that's an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. And she likes being isolated and in relaxed environments. And you like being hyped. So y'all can't get mad at each other because one likes to be one way and one likes the other. It's just a matter of understanding energies and respecting the energies. But if you don't have a culture that explains that to you, you'll start arguing. You never want to go out. You never want to do nothing. You always going out. It doesn't make sense. You put children at a table. You got an earth sign around a bunch of fire signs. The earth sign can't concentrate. Teacher, I can't concentrate. Well, it's not time for that. Well, I'm not finished my work. Well, you get an F for today. Oh no, better yet, the earth sign is mad because the fire signs are too hype, and they telling them, want y'all quiet down, and they get into an argument, the earth sign hits the fire sign. And the fire sign know you're gonna fight back. You don't even know the chemistry of how to set up a classroom or whatever, a society. Society is supposed to be architected based on science and mathematics. And knowing human interaction based on the laws of nature, not what you believe out of somebody's interpretation. So the society that we live in is the flood, because it's chaotic. You live in the flood, you're drowning. Go home, chaos. Go to work, chaos. Come to your black organization, local black organization, chaos. White organization, chaos. House, Congress, chaos. The Kremlin, chaos. This person want to bomb that person. This person want this person oil. Can't we all just get along? Damn. No, we can't get along because hybrid people are running the planet and they don't even belong here. And the indigenous people are stuck on stupid, not even knowing their own culture, following all the hybrid people. What you going to get out of that? What are we going to get out of that? Can we go anywhere with that power? No, we can't go nowhere with that. So your first rule is you only need to be following people who have the potential for you to follow. Barack Obama is already 50% out. How you gonna follow him? As brilliant as he is, all the stuff he's done has been destructive. Then he lied to you. He don't care about what happened to the people in Palestine. He gonna go eat his yogurt sandwich, whatever he have in the White House, and have a good day. So this is all mythos, a point. So when you read in the Bible about 8 people surviving the flood, please don't think that 8 people survived. It's symbolism. And it's health. Alright? These are things that we're supposed to understand. Let me come through some of this. I don't want to go through all of this. You know what this is on the board? This is called a mitochondria. You have over 100 trillion cells in your body, right? It's the energy basis of each cell. You have hundreds of these little things and they're all spinning like this. Right? And they're spinning in water. And what they burn is carbon. Glucose. And the glucose is supposed to come from fruits. You know what happens when you put a cheesesteak inside your body? You ever had a tire that's turning like a bike and you stick something in it and it smokes? What happens? It can't spin, it can't roll, it can't go down the street, you can't drive the car or whatever it is. That's the same thing that happens when you eat that chicken cheesesteak with that yeasty bread. That lipid, which is a fat, gets down, sludges its way into your cell, and it gets into the mitochondria. So the cell, now, the magnetic field begins to depreciate in the cells. And each cell has its own magnetic field, and you are a result of 100 trillion magnetic fields from those cells, all composed into one. So you want to be healthy? Put something in that's healthy. You want it to be better? Become a chef. Go home and work on the best recipes of the healthy stuff. That's how we live better. And then when you start doing that and showing what? More interest in your own health, what's going to happen? You're going to start depositing focus and attention on yourself, and attention is God. You want to know what a God is? Attention is God. Because God wants everybody to worship him, her, or it. That's attention. And some of the false gods have attention deficit disorder. Because if you don't, they're going to kill you. According to some books. You don't listen to God, God's going to kill you. You don't worship me, I'm going to kill you. Matter of fact, I'm going to send you to hell forever. You're going to burn forever. That's a hell of a threat. That's scary as hell too, because if it was actually real, it would be a problem. Nobody want to burn forever. What kind of clothes you got on to burn forever? A body you got to have to burn forever. Oh, God can do anything he wants, brother, even against the laws of nature that he set up. See how stupid we get? So you have an intelligence that can create stars, planets, and then you get this combustible stuff called fire, which is supposed to combust other things, but now you get uncombustible things in the fake places. So you're supposed to be eating something that makes this work. That's my point. And if you've never learned what makes it work, I'm telling you today, if you get sick or something happens, stop taking all these herbs. The only reason why you want to take herbs is to kill the parasites. So if you have a time period that you want to take herbs to kill the parasites, that's fine. Do not use herbs that are soaked in alcohol. You're going to proliferate the environment for the parasites to live in. Because that's what parasites do. They make alcohol. They're liquor distillers right in your body. They ferment tissues and produce alcohol. So some of the foods that you eat, why you like them, or I always say this, is because it's giving you a little kick. You're addicted to it because it's making alcohol. Because anything that's fermented is making alcohol. Okay, so check this out. Fermentation is the process that causes all disease in the body. Fermentation is when something begins to rot. You eat a piece of flesh, it's sitting in you 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, years. It turns into plaque and just stays on the side of the walls of your intestines. A test to see whether you are healthy is what it smells like when you use the restroom. It should be absolutely no smell. That's how you know you're healthy. And the bowel movement should float. That's how you know you're healthy. If you go into the bottom and everybody, you sound like you just dropped a grenade, Agent Orange in your house or something, and everybody in the neighborhood, you know, is spraying the spray, we know we got a problem. Right? What time is it? My watch is on. Huh? All right, so we understand that. That's real live talk. If you go to the bathroom and it stinks, you're rotting from the inside out. Essentially. So you need to change that. You can change that by changing the diet. Now it's hard to change the diet because I don't have the food accessible. See, it's a plan to keep you like that. So now you got to combat that. You have to find the local markets, start a garden, find the healthy places to get food in. That's the beginning. But the other people, what's Monsanto's budget? We need an equal budget to produce the agricultural means to sustain ourselves. So ask me why we're doing the summit. We're doing the summit so we can get to that point. We got to do something. Anybody want to lay over and die? And just give up? We don't do that. Check this out. So, point of significance. In order to have fermentation, the phototropic state of the cell, which means the way it's spinning and the light being produced, must be altered, which means the body must be below 380 nanometers. Let me say something. There was a German scientist named Fritz Popff. He did a study on the photoelectric state of cells, and he found out that cancer or no disease could exist in a cell that has the mitochondria vibrating at a field range of 380 nanometers. If you look at the light on the rainbow, see if you go back. The light on the rainbow, you have what you call Roy G. Biv, right? What happens when you go beyond blue? You go right into blackness. As soon as you go past ultraviolet, that's the 380 nanometer range. Follow me? Of vibration, or cycles per second, the spin. So what Fritz Popff, look, I don't have him in here with the actual quote from Fritz Popff, but what this is saying is that melanin is a substance that when produced in the cells of the body, the skin and the organs, no disease can exist. Melanin, when melanin is in the cell and is being produced and stimulated, no disease can exist in that cell because the vibration is too high. Follow me? Black hair, brown to black skin, you're made to be disease-free. That's my point. And you're the only ones that have that because you're the only ones that have that solar connection. But you black and ugly with nappy hair. And I got good hair. And I'm light or pale. I'm beautiful. Isn't that all right? The ugliest beings on the planet are calling themselves the most beautiful. And the most beautiful beings on the planet believe, not all of them, but the ones who don't have a knowledge of self, believe that they're ugly. Crazy. The world that we live in. So, check this out. My point is that, let's write this down. Because we be using a whole bunch of words. Look. What's that word?
Soul.
So humans say they have a soul, right? What is the soul supposed to be?
Spirit.
You bust up your little fake Catholic beliefs. I'm praying for the souls of all humanity. No, you're not, nigga. Every human ain't got a soul. Where does this word come from? This is English, right? Anybody know the Latin?
SOL? Son?
What does this word mean? Thank you. As in, so how can someone who is anti-sun have a soul? When the word soul means sun. So instead of you having nature's sun, don't get mad at me now. They did this. They said, well, now in order to get saved, you need this sun. Instead of the one you see every day that's maintaining the order in your local universe and performing perpetually by witness. Somebody who you never met is going to come back and save you. And this guy is saving you every day. Because you can live without this one, try taking that one away. Ooh, that's a problem. That's a problem for everything on this little thing that we're spinning on. See how the game gets played? Now all they did is take Ptah and Horus and make this guy up. So because we don't read and we don't know our own history, culture, we don't know that the Bible is only extracts of older documents from our culture. And it's not the problem with the stories that are being told, it's your understanding of the stories. Because the sun walks on water every day. You can go to the beach and watch the sun walk on water, as he said it. The sun got 12 disciples. That's what you call the zodiac. 12 disciples means 12 disciplines. The 12 disciplines are the zodiac. So are you disciplined enough to know your culture? No. We just believe what anti-solar beings are telling us. Now, that does not mean that white people can't strive to be righteous. No. A lot of them are striving to be. But I'm just saying, matter of science and history, proclivity in the nature is to be not right. And the challenge is, you're on the bottom now, you've been on the top for a long time. But for a few hundred years, you've been on the bottom, right? And you're on the bottom as a result of their injury. You was chilling. You wasn't invading nobody. If there was any crusades going on, they came in our lands and we was trying to get them out. But if you talk about reparations for African Americans, niggas, white, black, unalike, whoever, purple, orange, green, give you the dumb face. Like, are you kidding me? You talking about that old 165-year-old argument? Meanwhile, if you mention something about Israel, most people are going to say they have a right to defend themselves even though they killed 700 innocent women and children and men, which is supposed to be against the Geneva Conventions and war crimes. Which the talk on the UN floor for the 69th session is who's going to be charged in Israel with war crimes. And it just so happens that Uganda is heading the 69th General Assembly, and we all know the history of Uganda and Israel, and y'all know the conflicting histories. So this is scheduled to be a promising political year. I'd like to see what's going to happen. Because right now, those white boys over there just slaying women and children, having a field day. Guess what? You paid for it. You didn't know that? You didn't know your tax dollars funds the Israeli army? Huh? You didn't know that the blood is on your hand too? Don't the Bible say do not support the hand of the evildoer? You ain't gonna read that verse on Sunday. And your preacher sure ain't gonna say nothing against Israel. We want to keep that 501c3 and donations that's pouring in. So he's barred. He's not personally barred, but he could say something. So, my point is, to be black is to be healthy. Magnetically modified organisms. How many people heard of genetically modified organisms? Genetically modified organism is an organism that has a gene code switch. What happens when you had a magnetic field switch? Because to switch genes is to alter the magnetism of an entity. That's essentially what you're doing. So, what is this right here? This is your intestines. This is a cross section of it with the little hairs on it. You have little hairs inside of your intestines called villi. This is a up close shot of it. Now, why am I showing this? Because everything that you eat is processed by this organ. All right? It absorbs into this organ, if it can, and goes into this little hair-like substance, and those little nerves that you see there are the nervous system, the capillary system, the lymphatic system. All connect to those little hairs because the nutrients are going to go to the brain, to the lymph system, and to the liver so that your body can make new blood or energy in the form of glucose to be distributed to the body. So, what happens when you eat Cheetos? Anybody got Cheeto blood in it? What happens when you eat lamb chops, chitlins, turkey sandwich? You becoming a turkey. Anybody want a gobble?
Wow.
You are what you eat, literally. Literally, you are what you eat. So this organ cannot make healthy blood if it has a line of starch, slime, and pus. And the average one of us, if we open it up, that's what we'll see. The same stuff you see in the garbage can when your garbage can gets dirty, you see those little maggots running around inside? That's the same thing that's inside. Fermentation. We know it's right. Now, what does this have to do with the energy state of the body? See if we can get it. Here we go. All right, I'll give you an example, another example. Anybody in here have fillings in their mouth? Fillings. Mercury? All right. Look, if you eat fish or you have fillings, you have high levels of mercury in your body. And the mercury is problematic because it does this. Let's make this a nerve. And it's in your arm. On the outside layer of this nerve is sulfur. But it's a phosphate of sulfur. Why is sulfur on the nerves? Because nerves are electrical and magnetic, and they're carrying charge, so the body does not want to expose the inside of it to water. Got it? Because if you expose the inside of it to water, you get a charge. Shortage. So, it coats the nerves with sulfur because sulfur is hydrophobic. It blocks out water. Got it? When you have those dental amalgams, or you eat large levels of fish, oh brother, I'm a vegetarian, I eat fish. The mercury comes in and unbinds the sulfur and starts ripping away at the sulfur, exposing the nerve. So when the nerve is exposed, you can get a seizure, you can get, what's the disease called? MS? Yeah, multiple sclerosis. All types of diseases of that nature. Autism. Epilepsy. All types of diseases of that nature are the unbinding of the astrocyte cells on the outside of the nerve exposing it to air or water. So now, you gotta get this mercury out of your body. All right? How you get the mercury out of your body is because it binds to sulfur. You can take a substance that has sulfur in it that's good for you. So, one of the prescriptions that I use for anybody that has neurological issues is red or purple onions. The onions have a tissue matrix that matches the nerves, and it will bind to mercury to get rid of the metal toxins. Follow? 1 week on raw onions can help you with this problem. And you'll feel it because you'll get this metal taste in your saliva as it's detoxing outside of your body. Alright? So it's just a small example of how you can heal things just based on biochemistry. Okay? Now, I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again. There's some very evil people on this planet. Give me time. Give me time. 903? I got to make this my last point. There's some very evil people on this planet. And there's levels of the evil. It's actually unimportant, but to report to you what they're doing is important just so you're cognizant of it. It's important for us to understand that no matter how much evil that these people interpose on us, they can never destroy this planet. It's actually a joke. The planet is way more intelligent than us. Been here longer. And she has a plan to stay here. Can't get rid of the earth. The earth will give you a desert and dry you out, give you a drought, send a hurricane at you. There's nothing you can do with this earth. It's too intelligent. But the point being is, you have stuff like this going on. Weather manipulation. You ever see the chemtrails? Planes dropping like these little things up there. Like, what are they doing up there? Are they getting rid of waste, or what are they doing? They're dropping sulfur into the atmosphere to create clouding. All right? And there are other chemicals that are being dropped, but this one is more important because the clouding is a part of a project called the whitening of the earth. And the purpose of dropping these sulfur dioxide particles is to cool off the earth, to cause the earth to block out more sunlight. The project started under President Bush, where they first wanted to use metallic satellites to surround the earth with them to allegedly deal with global warming. Global warming. What is global warming? Global warming is because the toxins in the atmosphere are called. No, it's not global warming. Global warming is being caused by environmental disasters caused by man. That's not what global warming is. Global warming is the planet is naturally heating up because the planet, like the body, is smart. What happens inside your body when you get a whole bunch of viruses in it? The body turns the temperature up in the hypothalamus, and you call it a what?
Fever.
A fever. But the fever is not a problem. The fever is the proper biological response to turn the temperature up to burn out the viruses. So now the earth and the sun have enough sense to turn up the temperature to burn off the viruses. Global warming. White folks understand the mechanics of what's happening on the planet. Now they're trying to drop chemtrails and put stuff in the atmosphere to stop what nature and God is doing. Wow, what a war. They don't even want to fight you no more. Unless you're God in person, which you are, but you don't know it. But they're going to fight nature. You know what you do to somebody that crazy? You just step to the side. Go ahead, nigga. Go ahead. Have a fight with nature. Good luck. See you on the other side. So they're doing these particular things, and we're watching them. Our point is, we need to learn what is happening to us so we can make those simple changes. And how we start is by putting the right cultural information inside of this brain so we can stop the magnetically modified organisms that we are becoming because we don't know ourselves. You want to be wealthy like Mansa Musa? Where are our industries at? Mansa Musa wasn't part of a governmental structure. You would never, any one of us can become a millionaire or a billionaire. Nothing's stopping us from doing that. That's cool, we got those already. But what good is it if the Jewish family is going to take all the trust money and give it to their children? If you're surrounded by white lawyers, and your wealth doesn't go beyond 2-3 generations, it's not going anywhere. So our point is we need our own Aboriginal Medical Association, which we have. So now I just ended the pimps who are going to try to come sell you 1,000 different herbs. Stop taking them. They don't work. They'll kill some parasites if they give you the right ones. Then you need to get on the right diet. The thing about the diet is, it's not based on opinion. You can believe what you want. I believe that if okay, keep believing. Either you're going to do it functionally or you're not going to do it functionally. It doesn't mean it has to be boring. Because the food you tasting now is nasty as hell. Who could eat the guts of another animal and say it's good? Who could eat fermented cheese, fluid from another animal, and say it's good? Rotten cow pus. Damn, that tastes good on a burger. Instead of ordering and saying I want extra cheese, just try to say it one time. Can I get some extra cow pus, please? That's what it is. It wouldn't sound too good, right? You got to say cheese. Cheese! They get us with all this stuff, right? So my point is that you are part of an immortal people. You've been here, you're supposed to be here. What do you want to do? You want to keep following a soulless group of people? Or you want to deal with your own integrity as a people where you have the most voluminous histories on the planet? Choose one of those. Stop choosing from other folks. Let's take some questions and then make some announcements and then we'll get out of here. What time? Huh? So I'm doing it early. I'm making sure I stay on time. If I start at 9:30, we'll be late. Yes, sir. Nuts. Nuts are seeds, essentially. All right? I know y'all don't want to hear this, right? But you need to reduce how much nuts. Nuts are not made necessarily to be eaten. Just think about it like this. A nut is a seed, and the purpose of the seed is to become something. So you eating it is like an abortion. That's how nature looks at it. Because nature binds the stuff so tight in there that the minerals that are in it, the only way you can get it out, get them out, is if you sprout it. If you sprout it, you start the process, and then it starts releasing the proper levels of nutrients. But eating seeds, because of the high levels of acids in it, certain acids, there's many different ones, phytic acid, all right, it wipes out minerals, all right? So you're not supposed to eat a lot of seeds. If you do eat the seeds, soak them and sprout them, and then you can use them. They are good if you're dealing with some emaciation of tissue and you need to build up some tissue preliminarily, but you don't want to stay on that diet. Peanuts and stuff like that, that's just, don't even touch it. The main ones that you want to deal with if you start sprouting are the hemp seeds, the black sesame seeds. You want to stay away from the almonds if you can avoid them, because almonds are goitrogens. Goitrogens cause thyroid problems, but they're okay. When you start going into pistachios and peanuts and all that, you just lost.
You want to blanch them?
Yeah. I haven't had it, but. Say it again?
Almond food, I know it's coming out.
Right. I've never had it. Yes, sir.
They talk. Well, I actually have two questions. They talk about
apricot seed, right? So the apricot seed is supposed to have what they call B17, supposed to kill cancer. Would you recommend eating the pulp of the apricot and not the skin and not the seed? Just the pulp?
Well, okay. Key point. Kill cancer. All right? Cancer is a cell, and it has the ability to program other cells because of, its intelligence as a fungus or a spore. Specifically, Candida is the main one. When we talk about what's going to kill that cancer, it's only two situations that kill it. You neutralize its acidic environment, which means that you have to have water coming into your body that's of a certain pH to neutralize the acidic environment. The only other thing that can neutralize it is if you have something that can scramble the cancer's ability to continue to convert cells to itself. When you're talking about using a vitamin complex to actually perform that, you're talking about, it's a technical term, I gotta use this to explain it. The body is composed of amino acids, and the one acid, the group of acids that they don't talk about, which are in the African body, are the carboxylic acids. The carboxylic acids are what is found in fruit. Alright? And then the compounds, the seeds and the roots will also have those in it. So when you talk about the B17 complex, I want to bring you out of the ideology that it's the amines or the vitamin that are actually causing it. It's the carboxylic group that is attached to the amine that is catalyzing the deterioration of the cancer cell. All right? And that's happening based on the fact that you're dealing with the glucose inside of the fruit, which causes either that cell's mitochondria to upgrade itself, or surrounding cells mitochondria to be able to spin at a certain rate of speed. And once that happens, then those cells can produce melanotrope, what's called peptides, and they can kill off cancer cells. If you want to understand how cancer actually gets killed in the body, you need to understand that either you are reprogramming the cell to have its vitality, or the surrounding cells will choke it off because the surrounding cells have enough melanin or carbon compounds. There's nothing else that's going to kill it. Because the whole ideology of the old immune ideology that white blood cells and lymphocytes are going to kill stuff. White blood cells and lymphocytes only kill dead cells. Right? Or attack tissues that are weak. Lupus and other things like that. So my point is, it's a carboxylic compound. The B17 or the B12s or all these other vitamins are vital amines. But if you study the actual structure of the thing, that's the causation of the killing, it's the carbon compound that are causing it. Check, yeah? Okay.
Actualized root imprints and everything?
Yes.
How do we go about finding that out about ourselves?
We have books that we have on that. This is the book that we use for our certification, but it's for general reading. These two books, one is the instructional manual, one is the charts. These two books teach you about the entire system that we're talking about. There are videos online on our YouTube page. You can go to Aboriginal Global Media on YouTube. And more specifically, you can go to our live stream page, go to livestream.com and put in this name, and you can get all of our videos on the cosmology. Because that is vital for you to learn for your own well-being. Yes, sir.
You touched on vegetables and fruits. I was wondering if you could touch on grains.
Grains. Grains, quinoa, rices, all the other grains. Grains are complex carbohydrates or starches, all right? How can I say it? Preparation of grains is important if you're going to eat them. Quinoas, amaranths, you want to clean them properly and soak them if you're going to use them. They are not as vital as fruits. However, they are builders, all right? If you're trying to maintain some mass, they are builders. They're good foods for children. If the child was usually eating oatmeal, you can Switch it for some quinoa porridge, something like that. Add some coconut milk, something like that. But the grains are a replacement for the false concept of you having to get proteins to maintain your health. All right? The black body does not need protein. That's a myth. Proteins are compounds of amino acids. Okay? And amino acids are compounds of nitrogenous-based substances. We're carbon-based people. So the carboxylic acids, all right, are converted into melanotropic peptides, and they are made in a melanosome. So let me give you an anatomy class. You learn about ribosomes, where proteins are made, but you learn about melanosomes, but they don't tell you what's being made in them. The real black protein is being made in them, and the real black protein are melanotropic peptides, which is what your body will naturally make, and you'll be running fast like Usain Bolt. All right? So you'll get those carboxylic acids and the peptides from those grains that you eat that are natural if you soak them properly and you digest them. Water. But they're good for building mass if you like to work out and those particular things. And you're doing work like iron work or whatever it might be a little bit difficult for you to be a fruitarian in this environment.
Rainwater, faucet water, watermelon, cactus water, or coconut water.
Right. The best water on the planet comes from the fruits. It's in the fruits. Mangoes, melons, watermelons, that's the number one water. It's better than the other waters that's found in the rivers because it's bioavailable. You don't have to do nothing to it.
But you want to spit out the seed of the watermelon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's one, that's the best. If you're buying water, I suggest you buy distilled water and get you some chlorophyll drops to raise the pH of the water. Because distilled water is flat, the chlorophyll and the minerals will raise the pH up a little bit. It's better than spending expensive amounts of money on water. If you're going to purchase brand water, I'll write some down. Essentia, Evermore, what's another? Fiji?
They don't pay. That's the water you want.
Spring? Spring? Yeah, you're looking at two things. The pH and what are they using to cause the pH to go up. And it should be bicarbonates, some type of bicarbonates to allow the pH to go up. The other types of water, machine water, Kangen water, and all those things, challenging. Because you are stripping metals off into the water that are not in a bioavailable form. Metals or minerals are supposed to grow from a seed after being watered in sunlight to come to a plant, not taken off of, a plate.
I'd like to ask a question that doesn't pertain to health. Is that all right?
Yes, absolutely.
Shaka Amos, the brother, is going to be doing a dissertation on Islam tomorrow. Would you be there?
Tomorrow? I can't be there tomorrow because I'll be home in Philly.
All right.
I wish I could be there. Are they live streaming it? Maybe I'll be
I don't know.
Let me say something about my brother.
Yeah.
On camera. Shaka Amos, quit talking about Islam.
He going.
Because a lot of these people, they just want to be behind the camera. I just got to honestly say it. Yes, sir. They want to be behind the camera. I'm not stunting the brother because he is a good researcher and, he's a brilliant young man. But the theme that has been proposed in the community is if you want attention, just attack anything with no purpose behind it. So I think they need to do a little bit more study on Kemet to understand what they're in before they even start dealing with these other doctrines. And I think we should counsel in private more before we come out in the public just to be behind the camera, because we'll solve more problems and stop the division. Or if you're going to do the debates, run it right. Run it so that there's no sabotage, so people can do the debates appropriately and the information is gotten out. So I do big him up for doing the presentation, I do wish I could be here. That would be good. But I'll tune in. It's becoming more of a problem because we're forgetting to focus, and there's a lot of just errors being made in the research. So the best thing that I can propose, especially because it's been churning, if there are people who are Kemetic and they want to create a panel and talk to a panel of Islamic people, maybe Wesley Muhammad or a few other people, and then we can get them and have a real discussion, it will help. Because there's a lot of stuff that they just don't know. There's a lot of stuff that we might not know about ancient Kemet. But the attitude about what goes on has to be proper. They're coming in because they want to slay it. We're going to slay it. And the actual history says that you will be slicing your own neck in that sense.
Is there any record of how long the Musa master got lived?
There may be some records in the documents that they have in DC and other places because they compiled a lot of documents that they preserved from Timbuktu. I don't know if they have the exact dates in a specific document.
I'd like to know around.
Say it again?
I'd like to know like around with the range, how long he lived.
Yeah, we can find that out though. That's easy. My point is I wouldn't be able to tell you offhand. But because you asked that question, I can find out. It'd be pretty easy to find out because I'm a part of the online journal association that they have with the Timbuktu manuscripts. So I'm pretty sure there's one manuscript that describes.
When I looked it up, it said that they have no record.
Well, it depends on what source you're using.
Yeah, just use Google.
Yeah, if you use a regular Google search or Wikipedia, they don't have anything. You got to go to like an online journal search. Yes, ma'am. Only if you did not have it. Go ahead, bro.
If you just stepped into the community or looking at everything, what would be the first thing you suggest they do?
Say it again.
If they're looking to get involved and they just stepped into this and looking at it, from the outside.
Into our site?
Right. Would be the normal person's reaction to it, or what would be the next move for a normal person that just...
First thing I would recommend is go to this website, indigenousgovernment.org. There's a link, and the link is live TV. There's an introductory video. It explains what the whole purpose of the society is. So when you go to this website, indigenousgovernment.org, you go to live TV. Say it again.
I've been here before.
You saw that video? Okay.
Right, but I'm saying after that, where do you go?
It depends on what you're trying to do at that point because the whole study of that particular website is to explain what the indigenous government paradigm is about. If you wanted to go further by coming to class, then we're explaining more. If you wanted to go further with nationalization or getting concepts on nationalization, you could talk to one of the law masters or the secretary. They'll give you an intake form. And the intake form just basically details information about you. And at that point, you would be going through an orientation process because we have an exam that you have to take in order to enter the society. Even if you want to just take the exam just to learn what's in it. That's also on the website. And you're given instructions on information that you need to look at to get to that. So if you wanted to go further now, it depends on what direction that you would want to go. If you're trying to look at nationality and actually go forward with that, then you could talk to one of the law masters afterwards. Brother Chet is the law master here. I don't think there's any other law masters that are here right now. But we're going to stop the questions because we got to stop. Last week, we requested that y'all didn't come up and y'all all flew up here. This week we got security, so you're going to be in the front. But we will be here back next week. If you want to see our scene,